Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2011 Distinguished Alumni Service Awards Dinner. I'm Chris Kraft, Chairman of your Global Indiana University Alumni Association. Later in the program, we will present this year's Distinguished Alumni Service Awards, a much-loved tradition at Indiana University. But we begin tonight's festivities with what we see as a new tradition, the introduction of the Distinguished Alumni Service Award scholarships and grant recipients. These $2,500 scholarships and grants are awarded to senior students from all IU campuses based upon academic merit, with preference for students who have had little or no scholarship funding before their selection as distinguished scholars. Funding for these scholarships is made possible by the generosity of members of the Distinguished Alumni Service Awards Club. These are truly outstanding students, and we are delighted to introduce them to you tonight. Rebecca Keith, Corporate Secretary and Executive Staff Director, will be introducing them as they cross the stage, and you will see their photos on the monitors and screen. Del Brinkman, President of the Distinguished Alumni Service Award Club, will present their certificates. Charles Webb, Dean Emeritus of the Indiana University Jacobs School of Music, will provide accompaniment.
Design and telecommunications. Amanda Brawley from Washington, Indiana, studying at the IUPUI campus, majoring in nursing. Courtney Cox from Kokomo, Indiana, studying at the IU Kokomo campus, majoring in elementary education. Matthew Cox from Peru, Indiana, studying at the IU Bloomington campus, majoring in neuroscience. Lindsay Crowell from Greensburg, Indiana, studying at the IUPUI campus, majoring in elementary education. Adam Culbreth from Madison, Indiana, studying at the Bloomington campus, majoring in psychology. Lisa Fishering from Fort Wayne, Indiana, studying at the IPFW Fort Wayne campus, majoring in political science. Christy Gant from Whiteland, Indiana, studying at the IUPUI campus, majoring in nursing. Alyssa Gardner from Indianapolis, studying at the IU Bloomington campus, majoring in speech and hearing sciences. Kelly Jacob from Jasper, Indiana, studying at the Bloomington campus, majoring in speech and language pathology. Nicole Jakubowicz, studying exercise science, majoring in studying exercise science from Kokomo, Indiana, from the Bloomington campus. Michael Jenkins from Fort Wayne, Indiana, studying at the Bloomington campus, majoring in English. Virginia Jimenez from Bremen, Indiana, studying at the IU South Bend campus, majoring in biology, pre-pharmacy. Suzanne Lapis, living in Carmel, Indiana, studying at the IUPUI campus, majoring in nursing. from Fort Wayne, Indiana, studying at Bloomington campus, majoring in speech and language pathology. John Lissman from Sullivan, Indiana, studying at the Bloomington campus, majoring in English and history. Carly Mady from Cincinnati, Ohio, studying at the Bloomington campus and majoring in English and creative writing. Sarah McIntyre from Corydon, Indiana, studying at the IU Southeast campus, majoring in nursing. Chase Nicholas from Fishers, Indiana, studying at the Bloomington campus, majoring in geography and history. Tom Parmer from Indianapolis, studying at the Bloomington campus and majoring in biophysics and cognitive science. Aaron Powers from Houston, Texas, studying at the IU South Bend campus and majoring in secondary English education. Jacqueline Rooksbury from Terre Haute, Indiana, majoring in anthropology and history, studying at the Bloomington campus. Jenna Schmidt from Carmel, Indiana, studying at the Bloomington campus and majoring in speech-language pathology. Gurpreet Shahi from Highland, Indiana, studying at the IU Northwest campus, majoring in psychology. Carla Sturm from Shirley, Indiana, studying at the IU East campus, majoring in elementary education. Ashley Wood from Vincennes, Indiana, studying at the Bloomington campus, majoring in theater and drama. Shannon Wright from Carmel, Indiana, studying at the IUPUI campus, majoring in nursing.
What a great group of students. Once again, let's give them a round of applause.
What a splendid gathering this evening. I'm J.T. Forbes, Executive Director of the Indiana University Alumni Association, and I'm very, very pleased that all of you have joined us for this celebration. I hope you've enjoyed this splendid meal and had an opportunity to visit with old friends and make some new friends. It's now time to continue with our program, but before we go further, please join me in thanking the Indiana University Chamber Orchestra from the Jacobs School of Music. On behalf of the 558,000 living graduates of Indiana University, I welcome you to the Distinguished Alumni Service Awards ceremony. Since 1953, 305 Indiana University alumni have been honored with this award. The university's highest accolade, reserved solely for its alumni, this award provides recognition for outstanding achievements by the men and women of Indiana University. Tonight, we're very pleased to honor 5 exemplary, extraordinary IU alumni who joined the ranks of this university's most distinguished graduates. They've demonstrated perseverance and selflessness in service to their professions, their communities, and their alma mater. Indeed, they are the truest proof of the pride, character, and distinction of Indiana University. Today's honorees will serve as an inspiration to Indiana University students, faculty, staff, and alumni, and is a source of pride for all of us who celebrate and enjoy a deep affection and passion for this remarkable institution. On behalf of all these alumni, I congratulate you all for being here and for being recognized for this great honor. This evening is a pairing of the promise of Indiana University, too, because this evening earlier, we introduced you to the 2011 scholarship recipients who've joined us. Would you please stand once more for our greeting and our applause for your great achievements as students? A number of us had the honor yesterday of enjoying a lunch with some of these students and hearing their stories. They are truly remarkable and an inspiration to us all. They represent all that we hope to see at this table, celebrated at this evening in many years to come. So thank you all for all you're doing. As you know, it's our custom to introduce the distinguished guests who attend IU events. Ideally, I should introduce each and every one of you, considering all of your valuable contributions to IU, but I'd be here till breakfast if I did that. And in the role I'm in, that's kind of a risky career move, too, to try to recognize every remarkable person that's assembled here tonight. But I will make the prudent career choice of introducing the 18th president of Indiana University, Michael A. McRobbie, who will present the Distinguished Alumni Service Awards. And I have to say before I introduce him, thank you for giving me the best job at IU. Michael, please join us.
Well, thank you very much, JT. It is a great pleasure to be here this evening as we honor some of Indiana University's very, very finest and most distinguished alumni. And I should say how splendid the Henke Hall of Champions looks tonight for this function, and I think all credit to all of those responsible for the beautiful decoration and the wonderful atmosphere that have been created here tonight. We have held this event previously in Alumni Hall, which I'm sure some of you have noticed is starting to look somewhat old and in need of a certain amount of restoration. And those of you who, like me, think that underneath the somewhat decayed nature of that wonderful facility at the moment, there really lies the skeleton of a magnificent room. We'll be pleased to know that the trustees of Indiana University approved just a few months ago the restoration and renovation of Alumni Hall. So, and Vice President Morrison has promised me that it will be done very, very soon, so that I believe next year that this event will be held where it has always been traditionally held, back in Alumni Hall, which will by that stage be restored to its former glory once again. I should also add that my wife Laurie is usually with me at this wonderful event and other events like this in the university, and this has always been, I think, one of the highlights of the IU year. But I'm afraid, I think as some of you know, she's recovering from shoulder reconstruction surgery she had on Tuesday, and unfortunately was not able to be here tonight, but she sends her best wishes to the new DASA awardees tonight as well. But I'm delighted that several of our trustees could join us this evening, and I ask them to stand as I call their names, and if you could just hold your applause until all are standing. Mary Ellen K. Bishop of Carmel, Philip Enescu Jr. of North Webster and his wife Anne, and Cora J. Griffin of Galveston. Please join me in welcoming our trustees. And I'd also like to recognise the former chair of the IU Board of Trustees, Steve Ferguson, who is here tonight with his wife Connie. Steve? And we have a truly remarkable collection of deans, vice presidents, the provost of the Bloomington campus I know is here, members of the IU Foundation Board, and many other distinguished members of the university administration and bodies that support the university. And I wonder if they could all just collectively stand for our acknowledgement as well, please. Well, the presentation of the Distinguished Alumni Service Awards is, as I said, one of the highlights of the Indiana University year. And this is the first year that, sadly, we will be celebrating our Distinguished Alumni Awards tonight without Indiana University's 14th President, John Ryan, who sadly passed away in early August. During his long and remarkable tenure as president, President Ryan oversaw a period of dramatic growth and change at the university with the addition of 2 new campuses at IU Southeast and IU East. The cultural life of the university also expanded dramatically with the addition of the Black Culture Center, the Latino Culture Center, and the magnificent new home of the IU Art Museum, designed by I.M. Pei and completed in 1981. And John Ryan also had a deep and productive interest in fostering international collaboration and exchange that led him to establish the IU Office of International Affairs and forge important and relationships that endure to this day with institutions in Asia, in Africa, and in Eastern Europe. And John was an active advisor to the Distinguished Alumni Service Club in a whole range of different matters, offering, as was always the case with John, his sage advice, and he was always a voice of wisdom and reason. And John, of course, did not serve as president of Indiana University by himself. His First Lady and beloved wife, Pat Ryan, was as involved in the life of Indiana University as was her husband. So she too left an indelible mark on the institution, and she herself received a Distinguished Alumni Service Award for her many contributions. And she went on later to become an officer in the Distinguished Alumni Service Award Club. I know she's here tonight, so please join me in welcoming Pat Ryan. Pat? Well, this evening we honour 5 members of the alumni community for their truly outstanding achievements. And in honouring them, we honour all alumni who contribute immeasurably to their professions, to their communities, and to Indiana University. In bestowing these awards, we recognise the foundations of excellence upon which Indiana University has been built, foundations that are reflected in the lives of the university's sons and daughters. We are grateful to these award recipients for helping to strengthen those foundations. Their remarkable success offers a measure of the university's own achievements and a gauge of the heights that we can collectively reach as we continue to build. Unlike other high awards bestowed by Indiana University, the Distinguished Alumni Service Award is reserved for members of our university community. Only those who have attended Indiana University are eligible, and only members of the university community may make nominations from which the DASA committee selects the awardees. The terms of the award, prescribed by the Alumni Association's Executive Council and the trustees of Indiana University, provides that each candidate shall be, quote, outstanding in a chosen field of endeavour and shall have made significant contributions befitting the community, the state, the nation, or the university. Before we begin, I'd like to say a word too about the DASA medal, which has been redesigned for 2011. I believe it's being shown up there now. The new medal is silver and it bears the university's seal in the middle. 3 words: distinction, loyalty, and citizenship are imprinted on a crimson band surrounding the seal, and the outer rim is decorated with the blossoms and leaves of the arbutus, the university's flower. This new DASA medal, this magnificent new DASA medal, joins a family of university symbols of achievement, which includes the University Medal, the President's Medal, Thomas Hart Benton Mural Medallion, and the Distinguished Service Medal. DASA recipients are also given a citation that is hand-lettered on heavy cream vellum with the words Indiana University printed in crimson. And the name of the recipient and the first letter of each paragraph are printed in gold in the long-standing traditional manner of an illuminated medieval manuscript. Sorry, my script is sticking together. Our first honoree this evening is philanthropist David H. Jacobs Jr., whose financial generosity and the gift of his time have had a profound impact on Indiana University. Mr. Jacobs has helped support or was a member of the Kenda Webb Society of Friends of Music Scholarship, the R.U. Jacobs School of Music National Advisory Board, the R.U. Foundation Board, and the John E. Schiller Chair in Legal Ethics, and many other programs across the university. Of course, Mr. Jacobs was also the impetus and driving force behind a $40 million gift that his late mother, Barbara M. Jacobs, made to our School of Music in 2005. And the school was renamed in honor of his parents, Mrs. Jacobs and David H. Jacobs Sr. So now I direct your attention to the screens placed around the room and the screen behind me for a video portrait of Mr. Jacobs.
He has a real interest in the lives of people. He has a real interest in getting to know people.
Both of my parents went to IU as college students. My father after World War II, with the GI Bill. My mother was from Illinois and my dad was from Ohio.
I first met David Jacobs when he was a freshman at Indiana University. He had enrolled in the School of Music as an organ major.
You can lose yourself in practice as you try to perfect your craft. If you had a craft to perfect, which I was not a musician, so it was really difficult for me to do the work that I needed to do in order to prosper. And as a result, I left the school.
Even after David left IU, he remained an ardent supporter of the university. The Bill and Gail Cook Music Library became a beneficiary of David's generosity when he donated a collection of 11,000 vinyl recordings and 7,000 CDs.
The best repository for it would be a place like IU, or the Library of Congress, or someplace where they could have a digital facility that would let people have access to this music. It came out to 8 tons of music shipped in a container to Bloomington.
It actually doubled our collection overnight. We had approximately 7,000 CDs. Suddenly we had 14,000.
David's legacy will forever be remembered because of his role in the $40 million endowment to Indiana University's School of Music, which now bears the Jacobs name.
So my mother asked me what it was that I might like to have as a birthday present, and I did mention that if indeed she was serious about giving me a gift, that she could endow the IU School of Music. So here we are today, which only goes to prove further that if you can take no for an answer, and that if your heart is in the right place, you can ask for anything. Thank you, Mom. Thank you.
His mother was a generous person, and she had been generous on her own after her husband's death. with the School of Music, but it would never have occurred to her to do anything like that. It was solely this suggestion, and I would say probably gentle persuasion of David to do this.
But David's desire to help goes beyond the philanthropy. He has provided numerous areas of IU.
I felt it important to assist wherever I could within the university. Now, I have a keen interest in legal ethics because of issues that I've had to deal with in my lifetime. Therefore, my interest in the law school and Lauren Robel and the work that she's doing with that, hence the endowment for the John Schiller Chair in Legal Ethics. I have just been appointed to the Gay, Lesbian, Transgendered Board of IU. I was asked to do that because I am homosexual, and I have seen all too often how young people are maligned just for being the way they are.
He's also on the Board of Advisors for the School of Music.
And we provide a sort of world view for the dean. We're all traveling a lot, we're all doing business a lot, and we see what's happening, and we support him in his development of the mission that he is creating.
Although music did not turn out to be his profession, so to speak, he was constantly interested in helping other people, doing things that would not have been done without his resources.
I now invite Wynne Richards, Dean of the IU Jacobs School of Music, to escort Mr. Jacobs to the podium. David H. Jacobs, Indiana University salutes you. Your extraordinary generosity has distinguished you as a visionary creator of Indiana University's future. For your support of and involvement in so many aspects of Indiana University, it is an honor to bestow upon you the Distinguished Alumni Service Award. Congratulations.
Hi. Nice to go first. You don't have to deal with context. They told me I had 3 minutes. I'll try to make this shorter. I must tell you that I was beyond taken aback when I received this acknowledgement in the DASA acceptance notification. I just could not imagine why. Maybe it's the blessing of just living without reflection. But the more I thought on it, I realized that this most remarkable accolade is a reflection on you all. And not to acknowledge this would be limiting for sure. So I congratulate you, all of you, for seeing in us, the 5 of us, what you yourselves possess. Though you may not feel it within in any concentration, the simple fact is that you could not offer your support to us without resonating to what you see. It is within you, your capacity. For at the most physical level, we are all vibration, and the perceptions that we make of same. So let me tell you a little story. Born to parents who could no more understand this strange child than fly to the moon, as a result, like living hell wrapped in the trappings of privilege, stuck in an emptiness of perceived non-acceptability, a daily dose of worthlessness, shoveled at one from every quarter. Choices are made, and by the blessings of spirit, you survive with invisible scars that become numb to touch. Enter IU. It was here in Bloomington that I first felt true acceptance as me. Just David. Not being afraid of difference is IU. To look again, to respect is IU. That is an ideal that this institution engenders in its faculty, staff, students, and alumni. And as I mentioned, since we are all but vibrations, where did this acceptance begin for me? In music. And what is that? Music is ordered vibration. We sang way before language was codified. It was the late Kenda Webb, the extraordinary wife of Charles Webb Jr., Emeritus Dean of the Jacobs School of Music, who invited me to lunch, which, as the story goes, let me see acceptance unlike anything I had ever felt anywhere. The countless numbers of vibratory agents, musicians, passing through that household while being embraced on a weekly basis was, without question, I have come to know, my first introduction to grace. Their lesson to me by example, one does not do this without others. It is in the ensemble that real music is made. The vibrations are harmonic and non-harmonic, but they exist together in a familiarity. It's a master orchestration. Pablo Neruda, Nobel Prize winner in 1971, was quoted as saying, "There is no insurmountable solitude. All paths lead to the same goal, to convey to others what we are. And we must pass through solitude and difficulty, isolation and silence, in order to reach forth to that enchanted place where we can dance our clumsy dance and sing our sorrowful song. But in this dance, or in this song, there are fulfilled the most ancient rites of our conscience in the awareness of being human and believing in a common destiny." It's a master orchestration, folks. Let yourselves and every instrument play and be prepared for the wonder of it all. The wonder is now in your continued participation. Remember, it is in this harmonic convergence that great things can and do take place. It was in that convergence and that lunch 40 years ago that sowed the seeds that is realized today in the Jacobs School Endowment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David, for those most eloquent and moving words. It is my pleasure also to introduce some of Mr. Jacobs' guests who have joined us this evening, and I ask them to stand and for you to join me in greeting them as well. Mr. Jacobs' brother and sister-in-law, John and Cara Jacobs, his friend, Miss Gallen Wood, and his other guests too. Would you please all stand for our greeting today? Our next honoree is distinguished neurosurgeon Dr. Joseph C. Maroon. Dr. Maroon's life story is one of athletic triumphs and clinical successes. After a stellar career as a scholastic All-American football player here at Indiana University, Dr. Maroon earned his medical degree and completed his residency at IU. He has spent 40 years teaching, treating, researching about concussions and post-concussion syndrome. Dr. Maroon co-developed IMPACT, the Immediate Post-Concussion Assessment and Cognitive Testing, the first computerized system for determining concussion severity and timing for return to contact sports. The system is now the standard of care for concussion management in professional football, in hockey, in baseball, in auto racing, and at thousands of colleges and high schools. A true scholar-athlete, Dr. Maroon has authored numerous books and academic papers and has served as president of the Congress of Neurological Surgeons and as a team neurosurgeon for the NFL Pittsburgh Steelers. Meanwhile, he has found time to complete a number of Ironman triathlons. And once again, I direct your attention to the screens to a video portrait of Dr. Maroon.
I had the dubious distinction of being the smallest player in the Big Ten the years I played at 160 pounds and 5'5". I tell people I went to IU, I was 260 and 6'6", and this is what happened.
After 3 years of football and earning recognition as a Scholastic All-American, Joe started medical school at IU, where he stayed on to complete his residency. Dr. Maroon has spent 40 years in Pittsburgh, practicing, teaching, and researching in the field of neurology.
He is the neurosurgeon for the Pittsburgh Steelers and has been that neurosurgeon for
about the last 25 years, actually. And again, it was my interest in sports fostered at IU that led me, when I came to the University of Pittsburgh, to work initially with the Pitt Panthers and then subsequently be invited by the Roonies, the owners of the Steelers, to become really the first neurosurgical consultant in the NFL. In fact, this is one of the benefits of working with the Steelers. We have 2 of these, and I hope to get a 3rd one this year.
It was his work with the Steelers that will have the longest-lasting impact.
The most significant contribution I've made has been the development of the neuropsychological test called IMPACT, Immediate Post-Athletic Concussion Testing. Under Coach Knoll, I told him that one of his football players couldn't play against the Dallas Cowboys the following week. And he said, "Why not?" I said, "Because he's had a concussion." And he questioned me, who wrote the guidelines, what criteria were used, how do you know these are accurate guidelines? So at that point, I worked with a neuropsychologist by the name of Mark Lovell to develop a 20-minute neurocognitive test that an athlete takes prior to competing in any contact sport. And if he experiences or she experiences a concussion, they are then retested. And this now has become the standard of care in the NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, Formula One racing. As a neurosurgeon, I touch one person at a time. In this, there are millions of kids who are protected from damaging their brain subsequent to a concussion. Along with that, my interest in the development of minimally invasive surgery and surgical procedures to the brain and the spinal cord and the back and spine have resulted in over 250 publications.
Dr. Maroon realized the importance of preventing medical conditions as well as treating them.
he began to be interested in the ways in which people's lives could be enhanced through other things, like the use of resveratrol, like the impact of fish oil.
We recently published a book entitled The Longevity Factor, and in it I document the kinds of things that you can do at least to live healthier. You know, my goal is to die young, as late as possible.
These ways of looking at how life can be improved led Dr. Maroon back to his early days of athletic prowess. Now he has prepared himself to participate in triathlons.
I completed Hawaii last year for the 7th time, and I hope to God I can do it next year.
Dr. Maroon's list of awards and recognitions is much too long to mention here, but when asked what honor is most important to him, he had a quick response.
The presidency of the Congress of Neurological Surgeons, which is the largest organization of neurosurgeons in North America at the time, and I was elected president of that organization.
He has distinguished himself through exemplary service beyond what might be required for a neurosurgeon, and thereby brought credit to Indiana University.
I now invite Kurt Simic, the President Emeritus of the IU Foundation, to escort Dr. Maroon to the podium. Joseph C. Maroon, Indiana University salutes you. Your compassionate approach to preventing and treating head injuries demonstrates the very best of medical science. For your great contributions to our knowledge about this and many other neurological problems, it is my privilege to bestow upon you the Distinguished Alumni Service Award.
I really was 6'5" and 250 before. Since playing Big Ten football for 3 years at IU, I've had problems seeing over podiums. I'm really overwhelmed. This is almost a surreal experience for me to be here and to hear these words and to see that incredible tape that was prepared. I woke up this morning in the beautiful weather of southern Indiana, and Margaret and I, Margaret is really a gift from God to me in this last quarter of my life. And Margaret, would you mind standing up for me, please? I heard an essay once, the difference between 0 and 1. And it's a very profound thought when you really think about it. But this morning we, hand in hand, walked out Fee Lane, and we walked up the hill to a grassy knoll, and we overlooked this magnificent athletic complex that so many people have given to build. And we also gazed over the playing fields, the baseball field, the track, the soccer fields, and the football practice fields. And we looked at those fields for a long time, and as I gazed over those fields, I thought of another day and another time when I was actually a recruit to West Point. And I stood again looking from a grassy knoll over the playing fields at West Point. And as I stood there, above me, above the portals of the gymnasium, General Douglas MacArthur, then commandant of the academy, had engraved and chiseled into the granite the following quotation: "On the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that on other days and on other fields will bear the fruits of victory." And as I thought about that, I thought of my own fields of friendly strife. And my fields of friendly strife were right here in Memorial Stadium, on the practice fields of North Fee Lane, in the academic fields of strife in Ballantyne Hall, Jordan Hall, Kirkwood Hall, and the chemistry building. Terrible chemistry building. I almost didn't make it here. But the seeds and the fruits from those fields of friendly strife included such things as persistence, tenacity, leadership to some extent, and also resilience. And as you know, positioned against resilience is always adversity. And whenever I think of adversity, my mind goes back to Wiley Hall in a day exactly like today, with a setting sun, sitting opposite from Herman Wells, then president of the university, with his window half open and truly leaves, fall leaves, coming through the windows. And it was such a poignant memory for me that it's so emblazoned in my temporal lobes, in my hippocampus. That's where memory's subserved. It's in my hippocampus. And I remember the vision as today, and we were talking, I was on the board of Eons then, and we were talking about adversity. And Herman Wells said, "Gold is tried by fire, and men by adversity." I recollected that, I recorded that, I imprinted it. I didn't know quite what he meant, because at that time, life had very little adversity in it for me. But over the subsequent years, I really have experienced much adversity. We're here to celebrate our successes, our accomplishments, and all of the awards we won. But again, juxtaposed against any success of any of the awardees here, and we've just heard that beautifully expressed from David Jacobs, is adversity, and it's the human will to attempt to overcome that adversity. And the measure of who we are and what we become is really the resilience and how we handle adversity. The resilience that I acquired was clearly here on the fields of friendly strife, on the football field, in the classrooms. And it was the qualities that I learned on those fields of friendly strife that led to the fruits of victory, if you would, that was so beautifully recorded here tonight in the tape, which I am extremely appreciative of. The bottom line, I think, is that it's our attitude that determines altitude. Our attitude determines altitude. And the attitude that was inculcated in me on the fields of friendly strife here at IU are the things that I cannot express deeply enough: my appreciation, my respect for everything that I have acquired and who I am and what I do every day in the operating room, with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the locker room. Everything that I do, the seeds were sown here in this institution and on these grounds. For that, Mr. President, I deeply appreciate this award, more than you know. And I thank not only the university, but my close friends, Kurt Simic, Dick Bishop, Teddy Smith, who taught me many. I won't go into what Teddy taught me. And also Tommy Covington and Rich Bradford, who couldn't make it tonight, who are very dear friends. And finally, in closing, I think of the words of Scaramouche from the play written by Raphael Sabatini. Thank you, and again I say thank you.
It's also a pleasure to welcome Dr. Maroon's guests who have joined us this evening. He's already mentioned his fiancée, Margaret Sherbell, but maybe if I could ask Margaret to stand again, as well as his other guests for our acknowledgement too. Our third honoree is retired four-star General Victor E. Renuart Jr., who earned a degree in production management from the RU Kelley School of Business and has gone on to an extremely distinguished career in the U.S. Air Force. General Renuart was commander of the 76th Fighter Squadron during Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield. He later oversaw the planning and execution of all joint and allied combat, humanitarian assistance and reconstruction for Operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. He went on to serve as the Director of Strategic Plans and Policy in Washington, D.C. His final military duty was one of the most significant positions in the military in this country, and that was as commander of the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, and as the head of U.S. Northern Command, NORTHCOM. His remarkable service and leadership have been recognized with honors that include multiple bestowals of the Defense Distinguished Service Medal, the Air Force Distinguished Service Medal, the Defense Superior Service Medal, and the Legion of Merit. Please join me in watching a video portrait of General Renuart.
His path has been just truly remarkable, and I think he brings an awful lot to the table. Much different than what the traditional alumni who graduates, gets a job, and serves a distinguished career.
I was in the Air Force ROTC program as a freshman and a sophomore. Very turbulent. Those were significant demonstrations, and so after 2 years I said, no, I think I'm not going to pursue that. And so it's interesting later on in life when I'll come back to the Air Force that, of course, it's become such an important part of my career.
He decided to join the military and started his rather phenomenal career in the Air Force.
He served as commander of the 76th Fighter Squadron during Operations Desert Storm and Desert Shield. He flew combat missions in Operations Desert Storm, Deny Flight, Northern Watch, and Southern Watch. He was commander of the Joint Task Force of Southwest Asia and commander of the 9th Air and Space Expeditionary Task Force in Southwest Asia, based in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
In April 2001, I gave up command in Saudi Arabia and moved to Tampa, Florida, with the view that, boy, what a great location. I'm back in Florida. I'm close to the water. I can buy that boat I've been lusting after for all these years. In fact, I did in middle August of 2001. And, of course, September 11th, 2001 changed all of that for everyone.
Suddenly, Major General Renuart was part of the team developing military strategy and policy that would have an impact on the United States and its allies for years to come.
How do we begin to find and fix the people responsible for this and create a military operation that demonstrated the commitment of not just the United States but the rest of the nations of the world to counter terrorists and counter governments who harbor terrorism? And really the first significant briefing that was given to the President was done on December 28th in Crawford at the ranch. General Franks and I flew to Crawford and sat down with the President and on a video teleconference the rest of the Cabinet and laid out what was the beginning of many, many iterations of the planning effort for what eventually became Operation Iraqi Freedom. The night before we began operations in Iraq, we were on a video teleconference. There were 12 generals plus the Secretary of Defense and the President and his senior leadership team. 9 of us were sending our children into combat that night. So the personal impact of what you're doing hits home pretty significantly when you really start to look around. Sons and daughters were going to be put into harm's way. So you had a vested interest in making sure that you had done a damn good job of putting together a plan that was as executable and supportable as possible.
Then in 2006, Lieutenant General Renuart was asked to interview for the position of Senior Military Assistant to Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld.
And so I did interview, and he afterwards said, you know, basically, you're selected, when do you start? Yes, sir, Mr. Secretary, whenever you'd like. And then in the process of Secretary Gates coming aboard, he spoke with the staff and asked if I would stay on with him as he came into the office.
And then, of course, his final assignment was as head of NORAD, and was ultimately responsible for the defense of the homeland.
It's the only joint command that we have in our military focused on truly the defense of our homeland.
And so through his final command, General Renuart felt the desire to protect the country that he fought for throughout his distinguished military career.
Here we have a person that devoted his life to the country when a lot of other kids, and I can personally attest to that, back in the late 60s and early 70s, sought other paths purposefully. So I think that this is an opportunity for Indiana University to really recognize truly distinguished service to the country and to the university.
I now invite Dan Smith, the Dean of the IU Kelley School of Business, to escort General Jean Renuart to the podium. Victor Renuart, Indiana University salutes you. Your valiant leadership of our servicemen and women has contributed immeasurably to our national defence. And so, for your great service to the causes of freedom and national security, it is my privilege to bestow upon you the Indiana University Distinguished Alumni Service Award.
Today I had a great opportunity to spend some time in the Kelley School with a number of students who are about to head off into the next adventure. And they, in some of the questions, they asked me to outline some of the things that I thought would be really valuable to them and how they would be able to succeed as they moved off into this next chapter in their life. And I said, well, first, it's important that you understand how to speak well in public, so you can have ideas understood and you will be viewed as well-educated and thoughtful. Well, I find myself right now a bit stuttering and stammering. First, congratulations, David and Joe and the other awardees that you'll hear more about in a few minutes. This is truly an extraordinary experience to be recognized by my university, but to have that done in such an extraordinary group of people. It is humbling, and I do find myself a bit at a loss of words. I want to take a cue from Joe to say there is a partner out there who for 40 plus years has, and in my mother's own assessment, got me through college and then got me on the right path and kept me there. My wife, Jill, and if I could ask Jill for you to stand and be recognized. Thank you so very much. Harry was articulate to talk about the times that we all began. And they were difficult times here at Indiana University. The Vietnam War was not quite wound down, still in a very politically sensitive period of time. Demonstrations were on campus. Not quite like the Occupy IU movement that we see out there today, but certainly it was a challenging time for our nation, and certainly at campuses around our nation. And as we were approaching graduation, and it was important that I actually have something that would bring in a paycheck to take care of my future wife, I pursued a career in the Air Force. Actually, I pursued an assignment in the Air Force because I was really worried about getting food on the table over the coming years. It turned out to be an adventure that has been extraordinary in so many different ways, and the videographers were very kind to capture some of those great experiences. And there are a couple things that I want to leave you with here tonight. First, it is an amazing honor to serve your nation. And you've seen two wonderful individuals, and you'll hear about two more in a little bit, who have served the nation in so many important ways. For me, it has been the true honor to lead young men and women who feel committed to our nation, who wear the cloth of our nation, who feel strongly about defending the values that represent the United States of America. That wasn't something I expected when I walked in the door. I grew to understand that patriotism and honor, commitment, loyalty, strong ethical values were something that were really important to the core fabric of this nation, and I really got to like that sense of contribution. Second, as we matured in our career over time, we began to see that it wasn't just the things that we did in our career, but it was the way we shaped the young men and women who will serve the nation in the days yet to come. The opportunity to lead in stressful times, to take young men and women from being students to being warriors, to understand the challenges that they were faced with, is, again, an extraordinary opportunity, and one that I have valued for every year of our career. And I think finally, we've seen the military evolve as an institution. And I praise David's courage as he talked about his life, and I was pleased to see the Department of Defense make a significant change in its approach to men and women of all natures as they move forward in their lives of service to the nation. So we've seen an incredible change in the way our country has approached the people who want to contribute, and I'm proud to have been a part of that. Finally, I think I'd like to say that it has been an extraordinary honor for me to wear that same cloth of our nation. I feel immensely proud of what our country means around the world. And yes, we can be seen as arrogant, and yes, we can be seen as cumbersome, and yes, we can be seen as a bit opinionated. But there are no other nations in the world that represent the aggregate of good that the United States of America represents around the world. And it's important to be a part of that. We ought to take pride in being part of that. And by the way, our sons and daughters are going to be the ones who make sure that continues in the future. And I will tell you, for those of you who have sons and daughters who serve our nation and who are out there in harm's way tonight, be proud of them. They are extraordinary young men and women who understand the importance of what they do and the value that they contribute, and how much you have to love your nation to do the things that these young men and women are doing. And I'm very proud to accept this award. Thank you, President McRobbie, but accept this award really on behalf of our sons and daughters who wear that same cloth, who are out there making a difference around the world tonight as we enjoy this wonderful evening. Thank you so very much for the honor.
Now, I'd like to recognize a number of General Renuart's guests who have joined us this evening, and I ask them to stand as we greet them. He's already recognized his wife, Jill, but Jill, maybe you'd like to stand again for our recognition. We also have Major General Marty Umbarger, the head of the Indiana National Guard here, and his wife, Roanna. General Umbarger. And as you saw from the video, we have legendary IU Rose Bowl quarterback Harry Gonzo and his wife Lucy. Well, our next honoree is the Surgeon General of the Navy, Vice Admiral Adam M. Robinson Jr. Admiral Robinson, who also serves as Chief of the Navy's Bureau of Medical and Surgery, has steadily climbed the ranks, holding administrative and medical positions with the Navy throughout the world. Among his other assignments, Admiral Robinson has served as the Head of General Surgery, the Director of General Surgery Residency Program, and Acting Medical Director for the Naval Medical Center in Portsmouth, Virginia, the Director of Readiness, the Deputy Chief for Medical Support Operations, Acting Chief of the Medical Corps at the Bureau of Medicine and Surgery, and the Force Medical Officer for the U.S. Atlantic Fleet. A Fellow of the American College of Surgeons, Admiral Robinson has repeatedly earned prestigious military awards, including the Distinguished Service Award, the Legion of Merit, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, and the Navy Achievement Medal. Admiral Robinson, who I was able to last year present with an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters degree, oversees the Navy's medical operations and services, which includes 60,000 employees and has an annual budget of $3 billion, the same as Indiana University, by the way. So I direct your attention to the screens and a video portrait of Admiral Robinson.
Even though he's a person who sits at the head of an organization with 60,000 individuals and a $3 billion budget, he is as warm, down to earth as anyone I know.
Adam Robinson found himself at Indiana University when there were some turbulent events taking place on campus.
I remember many of those events. My roommate that year was in the Air Force ROTC unit on campus, and I can remember distinctly that he couldn't wear his uniform because he would be harassed. But it was also a tremendous learning experience about what social responsibility means and how we have to serve our nation in a variety of different ways in order to make the United States great.
In spite of the challenges for military units on campus, Adam was part of the first class in the Armed Forces Health Professions Scholars Program. He graduated from Indiana University's School of Medicine in 1976.
I have been a practicing physician and surgeon in residency programs at Bethesda and at Portsmouth, teaching residents, graduate medical education, being involved in a variety of different activities, Association of Program Directors in Surgery, developing surgical curricula for the medical schools, doing clinical teaching of medical students and residents. And I really did that actively from 1978 as a resident until 1995. In 1995, when I went to the Surface Atlantic Fleet, I still saw patients throughout the next 10 years, but I was doing more administrative and more operational medical experiences.
Following nomination by President George Bush and confirmation by the Senate, in 2007, he became the 36th Surgeon General of the Navy and the 40th Chief of the Navy's Bureau of Medicine and Surgery.
His personal decorations include the Distinguished Service Award, twice, Legion of Merit, twice, Defense Meritorious Service Medal, twice, Meritorious Service Medal, twice, Navy Commendation Medal, Joint Service Achievement Medal, Navy Achievement Medal, and various service and campaign awards.
All of those awards are really more a reflection of the men and women that I have served with at different areas.
He also directs the Navy's humanitarian efforts throughout the world. In fact, following the devastating earthquake in Haiti, he was at the helm.
We rendered all sorts of different types of care, orthopedic surgery, general surgery, internal medicine, infectious disease, pediatric care, neurology. Whatever the specialties we had, we rendered care.
His personal background has given him a keen understanding of diversity issues.
I think he's the first African American to attain his position as Surgeon General of the Navy. And he's very cognizant of the fact that diversity is very, very important.
We have a rich, talented pool of people of all races, of all ethnicities, of all backgrounds, that we cannot afford to overlook, to marginalize, or to waste.
Admiral Robinson has taken his education and training that he received at IU and elsewhere, and translated that, I think, into a lifelong pursuit of excellence that has allowed him not only to be a great physician, a great surgeon, but also a leader and humanitarian of international importance.
It's been a wonderful career, and I've combined the best of surgery and medical science with executive medicine, and all to help the men and women of the armed forces.
I now invite Larry Sengel, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, to escort Admiral Robinson to the podium. Adam M. Robinson, Jr. Indiana University is proud of your remarkable record of public service and the superb example of leadership that you provide. Throughout your distinguished career, you have given most generously of your time and talents, not only to the U.S. Navy, but also to Indiana University, remaining in close contact and serving as an inspiration to faculty, staff, students, and alumni. Thus, it is my privilege to bestow upon you the Distinguished Alumni Service Award.
Good evening. First of all, Gene, I don't know why I had to follow a 4-star Air Force, but that's the luck of my life. You see, I'm a 3-star, and I always have to follow the 4 stars, but that's just the way it goes. I also want to tell you, you never know what you don't know, and you never know what life's opportunities are, because you see, after I got into the Armed Forces Health Professions Scholarship Program in 1972, and after I went to medical school in Indiana, and after I graduated in 1976, I then went to Southern Illinois University for my internship and spent a great deal of time that next year, 1976, 1977, trying to get out of the Navy because the Vietnam War was over and they really didn't need me. And I thought that I should be doing other things. And although they had paid for my medical education, that is the United States Navy, I didn't really figure that I really should do much with them. And it wasn't until after I was told that I could either come on active duty or visit the U.S. Marshal's office that I recognized that I needed to think this through a little bit better and perhaps come on active duty. And the end result of that is 39 years later, here I stand at Indiana University, which is where a lot of the formation of my goals in life and a lot of the whole creation of what I could do and the propositions of what I could be were established. Now, I have to give my parents credit for being that foundational stone to give me the background and that basic ethical valuation that you need in order to know where you're going to go. And then I also have to give my church and also my community the recognition that it deserves, because they all helped to form me. But then you're launched from that safety pad of home, and if you've had a good home, and I did, that's a plus. And then to come to Indiana University and to have that solidified into the proposition that anything you want to accomplish, you can, if you're willing to open your mind, open your heart, and open your soul to the possibilities of what can be, and not always conclude that what you need to do is in front of you, because what you need to do may be above you, below you, or on each side of you. In other words, you need to do a 360 and stop that linear view of life. And that's what I learned at Indiana. What I learned in the Navy is this. I learned in the Navy that the essence of service is to be selfless. And I learned that the essence of the military is service. And with those two things in mind, selfless service is embodied in the ethos of our Navy, the ethos of honor, courage, and commitment. And Gene, you went through this with your Air Force ethos, and you said it a little differently. But those of us who have been granted the honor of wearing the cloth of our nation, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Public Health Service, NOAA, it doesn't matter. The service, that selfless service, the essence of giving something of yourself back to the country, is important to the nation and is important to the formation of what our nation's legacy should be. Our nation's legacy is intimately connected to our willingness to serve, our willingness to affirm the service of our wounded warriors. And forgive me, folks, but I'm a physician, and I think of nothing more than the men and women that I serve with and the men and women that give care to those who have been injured in battle. And after a 10-year war, this has been a tremendous battle, and we must never forget the wounded warriors that are there, because the wounded warriors who are today's young heroes should not be those wounded warriors who are tomorrow the forgotten people of America. I owe so much to Indiana. I owe so much to the many people who are here. I have to say that I owe so much to my wife, Yuko, who has been with me for the last 27 years. And I have to tell you something. She just hates it when I even mention her. And to ask her to stand up is something that is so horrible that I will never be able to even fly home tomorrow with her. But she will stand up in a few minutes. And I also... she'll stand up and tell me to shut up and sit down. And I also want to give tribute to my brother and my sister-in-law. And President McRobbie, I know you're going to talk about the people at the table, but I must also say something about Gene and Fran Weinberg. I guess I could call them surrogate parents, but they have been mentors, and they have been friends, and they have been people. And I think Dr. Weinberg saw things in me long before I ever knew what I could be. I think he saw that I could be things that I had no idea that I could be. But be that as it may, he has always been a friend and a person that I could count on, as has Fran. So I appreciate that, for them taking me into their home many years ago and for being with me all these years. Ed, thanks very much. I appreciate your words, and you've been a wonder and a joy to be with the last few years. And I just appreciate you very much. So with that, I'd like to say thanks to the 63,000 men and women of Navy medicine who I represent here tonight, the 63,000 of men and women of Navy medicine who are represented by the medals that I wear and by the honor that I receive here tonight. Make no mistake of that, because these are the men and women who together have shown me that with affirmation, with faith, and with love, we can do anything. Thank you very much.
Well, it's interesting to reflect. We have a 4-star Air Force general and a 3-star Navy admiral, but no one from the Army or the Marines yet. So I think our alums in those two services better work very hard for promotion. If I could also welcome just a number of Admiral Robinson's guests. If he couldn't ask Yuko to stand, I'll ask Yuko to stand for our, for our recognition. Admiral Robinson's wife, Yuko. And his brother and sister-in-law, George and Kathy Robinson, and his other guests, if they could all stand. Well, our final honoree this evening is former IU trustee Sue H. Talbot, a lifelong friend and supporter of education at every stage of life, including but not limited just to education at Indiana University. Sue taught in the Monroe County Community School Corporation for decades, and she was so highly regarded that she was named Local Teacher of the Year, State Teacher of the Year, and National Teacher of the Year finalist. She then served as a special assistant to former Indiana Governor Robert D. Orr, and later as the founding director of Hoosiers for Higher Education, a grassroots advocacy group with more than 10,000 members. Her many other service activities really are too numerous to list in full, include her national chairwomanship of the IU Alumni Association, this association, as well as currently serving on the IU Credit Union Board of Directors. We are especially grateful to Sue's 9 years of service on the IU Board of Trustees, where she was repeatedly re-elected. She brought to the board a keen understanding of education at all levels and an awareness, a really deep awareness born of her decades of experience of the university, of the way that Indiana University fits into the broad educational landscape, not only within the state, but within the nation, and a commitment to serving this university by strengthening its programs and really making it a better place, a family-friendly place in many ways for faculty, for staff, and for students alike. And if, on a point of personal privilege, I could also comment that Sue chaired the search committee that recommended my appointment as president to the Board of Trustees. So I'm particularly grateful to her for that as well. And if I could now direct your attention to the screens for a video portrait of Sue Talbot.
Three words come to mind in Sue's personality that has made her such a success, and that would be commitment, integrity, and enthusiasm. And when I say enthusiasm, I mean with a capital E.
After growing up in Bloomington, Sue received the first of her 3 degrees from Indiana University from the School of Education.
I decided that early childhood is really what I was interested in. I taught first grade mainly at Arlington and University High School.
In 1978, Sue was recognized for her dedication to the classroom.
She was given the Indiana State Teacher of the Year Award, and also that same year she was the first runner-up to the National Teacher of the Year Award.
I wasn't the best teacher. I wasn't the star teacher that they should award this to. I think I represented what is good in teaching. That probably is the springboard that made the difference in my career.
Her recognition gave her a voice she used to promote educational issues. Mainstreaming handicapped students was one of her favorite topics.
And other teachers, I'm sure, would view it as maybe a threat at first, thinking that they had a child that was, instead of different, I like to say unique. And the fact that these children can adapt quite readily to the classroom and the other children can adapt to them, I think often we don't give children enough credit.
But then the governor asked me to work for him, and so I left the classroom, and doing that and working with all of our school districts around Indiana during that 3 years with him.
But it was the time she spent traveling the state as Governor Orr's special assistant that she developed her statewide contacts. This served her well during the next phase of her career as an advocate for higher education.
Since we have so many living alumni and so many in Indiana, if we set up a county program of contact, like county chairman could contact these alumni, we could have them be advocates for our legislative agenda.
And in 1991, during a Cream and Crimson weekend, she became the first director of Hoosiers for Higher Education. She recruited 115 members for that advocacy group in 1991. By the time she retired from that program, there were 10,000 members strong.
Even with the success of Hoosiers for Higher Education, Sue still found other ways to serve the university.
Sue Talbot is everything IU. She ran for and was successfully elected 3 times as a trustee for Indiana University. She served on the IU Foundation Board. She was the national chair for the IU Alumni Association.
I believe in giving back any way you can. And if I were an extremely wealthy person, it would be in money. But I am not, so therefore I give back in my time.
Sue Talbot has been named as a Sagamore of the Wabash. Not just once, but on 2 separate occasions.
I have one from Governor Orr, which is very meaningful, as you can imagine. And then when I retired from Indiana University, Frank O'Bannon presented me with one.
The things that she's most proud of are faith, family, and friends.
We've had our illnesses, and we've had our tragedies, and we've had things that are almost life-threatening and life-changing. And yet, I look at each member of my family who's come through that, and they are literally my heroes.
Sue's family members may be her heroes, but there's no questioning the soft spot in Sue's heart for her university.
Indiana University is kind of emotional to me, actually. It has influenced me greatly. It has been the reason that I have had any success at all. And our fondness and our loyalty is so deep that it's difficult to express sometimes. I can never repay IU, ever. It's really a significant part of our lives.
I now invite Gerardo Gonzalez, Dean of the IU School of Education, to escort Ms. Talbot to the podium. Sue H. Talbot, Indiana University is very proud of you. Your lifetime of commitment to teaching and learning has made an incalculable difference to those you have influenced for generations. And thus, it is my privilege to bestow upon you the Indiana University Distinguished Alumni Service Award.
Well, so much for asking the videographer to cut this place where I got emotional. He didn't promise, but I said, "You will cut that out and tape over it." And he said, "You're fine, you're fine. I should have taken it." And Ken Beckley, what a wonderful tribute just to have your voice through this. Thank you. Thank you. I am so entirely humbled by this, as you can tell by the tape. It's a recognition that no one aspires to when you start giving back to your university. And I was literally shocked when I was told that this was happen. And I was also very pleased to have this happen under Michael's administration. As he said, we kind of have a special bond because I was privileged to chair the committee that hired him, but Steve Ferguson certainly helped me with that and others. It was not mine alone. And it was a real pleasure. As you heard on the tape, I'm from my good friend Mary Ellen Bishop, and sorority sister, I would say. The most important things in my personal life are faith first, my family, and Indiana University ranks very, very high there. To share this evening with such incredible people, David, you do so much for Indiana University. You've given us so much, and the students are the beneficiaries, which is, I know, what you wanted to have happen. And that's what we're all about here as students. And, you know, I want to say to Joe that I know of your research, I know how many lives you impact, and I know how many people here in the room are either recipients because of your research, or they have sons who have been affected, or daughters in athletics. Thank you so much. You make us proud. And to Jean, Victor, and Adam, I want to say that when Bob and I married young, tucked our children into bed at nights, we didn't have to listen for air raid sirens, and we didn't have to worry about hearing gunfire. When we've nurtured our grandchildren, the same thing has happened, because people like you are helping protect this country and giving us freedoms that are just unseemly in other countries, and doing the best you can for our military men and women. We could not be more thankful. Bob and I were raised in the tail ends, as children in the tail end of World War II. Our fathers were air raid siren volunteers in our neighborhoods. We understood blackout. We didn't have the full concept, but we certainly understood that men and women were fighting, and they weren't here in the U.S. In fact, Bob lost an uncle in the World War II Schweinfurt raid, and we have always been honoring him as a family because of the service that he gave to this country. He was 26 years old. We were sorry that he wasn't able to see the results of family as they have matured. I was raised here in Bloomington, and I'm very proud to be a native. And we often say, because of birth and faith, and choice, we stay in Bloomington. It is, as you all know, a wonderful place. And as you all come back, I hear all the time from our alumni friends how they can't wait to come back to campus, to walk on campus, just like Joe was talking about, and to see the scenes of campus. It is a comforting campus, and we certainly love it. I was very fortunate to know many of our presidents and work with them in various ways. One of my first mentors in life was Herman Wells. I was a very young child when Herman was around Bloomington outside the campus, and he frequented the original Gables, the Book Nook, the Dairy Bar. We happened to have a Greek family in our neighborhood that members of their family and relatives all owned the Gables, the Book Nook, the Dairy Bar, and the Stardust. And Herman liked to eat, and so did my family. So, well, you know that about Herman. And so we saw him frequently, and he was a wonderful mentor for our young child. Knew us by name after he met us one time. There were a lot of people that I was influenced by and throughout my life, there's no question. Some of the presidents that I loved working with, John Ryan and I got to be friends when I worked for Governor Robert Orr, because John and the governor were very dear friends, and they did a lot of collaboration. So while I was working there, John and I really struck up a friendship, and he and Pat remained our friends for many, many years. On the videotape, they did not show me when I mentioned John's name because, again, I teared up. You're going to think I'm the most emotional person you know. But I do miss him terribly. I also was able to work with Tom Ehrlich, who appointed me to be the director of Hoosiers for Higher Education. Miles Brand, who I worked with as an employee and worked for, and then, of course, became a trustee and worked with. And after Miles, we had Adam Herbert, who is still a good friend, and of course, President McRobbie, who has lived up to the promise of being one of the greatest public institution presidents of our time. We are so thrilled to have him here. Several decades ago, I entered Indiana University to be a teacher. I wanted to learn to teach young children, our children of all ages or any age. I had such wonderful teachers during my K through 12 experience. I was so inspired to give back in that classroom environment. I didn't know which classroom I would be in. I started out thinking I wanted to be a physical education teacher, maybe a home ec teacher, and ended up loving first grade and very young children and young childhood because I understand so much of where that begins for children. It starts in the home. Our mother was a teacher with a 2-year certificate from Indiana University that she earned in 1925 and taught in a one-room schoolhouse in Clinton County, Indiana. She was an inspiration as a mother also to become a teacher. As I went through the School of Education, I was inspired by our instructors, our professors. I had so many fine ones. Many of them are no longer with us, but they were instrumental in building my career as a classroom teacher and as the deans were of our school at the time. I really can never repay what the School of Education has given me over the years, not only as training me to become a teacher, but supporting me in the classroom through the years of their research that enhanced my knowledge of working with young children. You're going to think I can't keep a job because if you look at the resume, I left the classroom to go with the governor and left the governor to come back to IU and all the above. And it took forever to get my 3 degrees. If you look at those dates, you wonder, did she flunk out or what? You know, but I just kept learning because the School of Education taught me to be a lifelong learner. And it's been a wonderful career of teaching and learning. One of the things that I have learned through the giving back to Indiana University is that it's an easy sell. You love this institution like everybody in this room tonight. We love it so much, we'll give back anything we can. I know that many of our alumni executive council members are here. I know that's what they do every day of their lives is give back to IU. And whoever you're influencing in your community, you're showing them what an IU degree means to you and what you can do with it. And the students that are here tonight, we're so proud of you. We are so proud of you. And we are hoping that eventually your paths will lead to serving on the Executive Council of IUAA or the Foundation Board or with your schools on their advisory council and doing the kind of give back. You are always going to be the person that's an ambassador for IU. Once they know you graduated from IU, you're sunk. They're going to love you. I also wanted to tell you, and I don't want to preempt Michael on this, but I would like to introduce my family tonight. There are so many of them here because I live here in Bloomington. Several of our grandchildren, we have 8, they all can't be here, are here. But first, before I ask them to stand, I want all of the people and their significant others of my family and grandchildren who have IU degrees, they are now in the pipeline for an IU degree to stand up. Thank you. You can see that Bob and I feel very blessed. We feel blessed to have this family and also, of course, to have their attendance here tonight. Not here tonight are our son and his wife, who he's with the University of Colorado, and they represent 2 more graduates and 4 more degrees. And our most recent graduate, our grandson in Chicago, who just started a new job and couldn't be here. Funny that. And he and his significant other are our most recent 2 IU degrees. So we have several in our family. My sorority is Alpha Chi Omega, and I have several sorority sisters here tonight. I mentioned Mary Ellen, and I have our daughter and one of our granddaughters. And in our sorority, we have a term called Life Loyal. And Life Loyal is just a phrase for the significance of our commitment to our sisterhood. But I think that phrase certainly denotes our family and our ability to be loyal to Indiana University. We are life loyal. We will always be Indiana University supporters in any way possible. When there are successes, we smile. When we make a misstep at the university, we try to do the best we can to help that misstep get corrected. We hope that we will always be that way and that those of you who aspire to that, the young students, can do that also in the future. You will never be sorry to give back to Indiana University. I feel like I need to share this with everyone here tonight. You are the volunteers that make this university work, and we need you all. And I'm happy to share. If you want to wear the medal on Tuesdays, let me know. Somebody can have it Fridays, whatever you want to do. It's yours too. I am so pleased to be here with this crowd tonight. What a great thing to do and tribute to the five of us. We are the novice class. We went to our first DASA meeting this afternoon and learned some things. And so we will try to do our best to be a good class of DASA recipients, all of us. And everyone in this room has a place in my heart tonight. Thank you so much for this honor.
Well, it's as Sue indicated, it's also my pleasure to welcome a number of her guests who are here tonight. But firstly, I should welcome, well, he's actually standing very graciously helping Sue sit, Sue's husband, Bob. Bob. I won't go through everybody, but Sue's sister Jenna Black is here, and her children, their spouses, their grandchildren, and our other guests. I wonder if you could just all stand for our greeting and recognition. Well, congratulations again to all of our honorees. Really a quite remarkable class of honorees tonight. And Indiana University really is richly endowed in many ways. And our greatest treasure, though, remains the women and men who carry the spirit of this university throughout the state, throughout the nation, and throughout the world. This evening, we have celebrated that spirit once again as we have honoured the truly outstanding achievements of 5 of our most remarkable alumni. In doing so, we have honoured the strong and lasting values that continue to guide Indiana University as we look towards a future of ever greater achievement. Our honoured guests tonight are testimony to the brilliance of that future. So may I ask just one more time for our 5 awardees to stand once again as we award them for their being recipients tonight of the Distinguished Alumni Service Award, as we recognise their achievements. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations again to all of the DASA recipients. I call your attention now to the listing in your programs of all persons who have received the Distinguished Alumni Service Award. We are very pleased to have many DASA recipients or their surviving spouses with us this evening, and I ask all of them to stand so we may recognize them now. You all are an illustrious company, and we are very glad you are here. We thank you for your long-standing service to your university. Before we conclude this evening's program, I want to express our appreciation to our exceptional staff members in the Alumni Association who have worked very diligently to make this weekend a success. My thanks go out to all of those staff members. Please rise and let us recognize you for all of your good work this weekend. Friends, we have come to the close of another inspiring DASA dinner. To conclude our program, I ask Dean Richards to lead us and singing Hail to Old IU, accompanied by Dean Webb. The words to the alma mater are in your program booklets. Not that this crowd will need that.